Okay, so let's have a conversation with, and we don't have the politicians this morning because we don't want to dilute the issues that are ongoing. The security concerns, we have people who have the know-how to be able to lead us out of the maze. Mukhtar Mumuni is the Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. He's here, and also Mr. Richard Kumado is a fraud and security consultant. Gentlemen, welcome. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you.
Let me start with you, Mukhtar. So we recently launched a national security strategy. Is this the test, the litmus test for our national security strategy that we've been waiting for?
Of course. Good morning to you and good morning to your cherished viewers, and thank you for the opportunity this morning. Of course, we have a national security strategy document in place now, something many people have been calling for decades. And so it's a great indication of what a supposed committed government is meant to do. And if you read the content of that document, there's great value in it, especially if you look at the content relating to human rights and the involvement of civil society, where I belong. It's pleasing to see that is properly captured in that particular document and the role of civil society in ensuring peace and stability in this country. But of course, just like our constitution and several other documents that we work with, it's fantastic, but implementation or commitment of leaders or leadership to implement that does not exist. And as we can clearly see in many areas, in terms of either the state itself generally or institutions that are mandated by the constitution to carry out their responsibilities, we see wanton disregard for the laws of this country.
Right.
And as I listened to you earlier in your editorial, I mean, you properly captured, the entire reality of what is happening in our public space when it comes to security, right from elections, right from events that otherwise should be simple, civil related, civil, in terms of conduct. We do not see that happen. And so it goes beyond having a national security strategy document. It goes beyond, putting all these things, fancy things together and showcasing it as a sign of commitment to dealing with security in this country. Look, the constitution of this country is operated, or the country operates on the constitution.
Right.
Under the rule of law. And the rule of law states that governments and authorities who exercise power must do so according to the laws of the land and not according to their own wishes. But what do we see? There's a Roman statesman, Marcus Cicero, who talks about the law and the people. And he says that the protection of the people, the lives of the people and their livelihoods should be the highest law of the land. We do not have that here. We're seeing wanton disregard for laws and state impunity in dealing with security in this country.
Right.
What we saw yesterday was a sad spectacle of state impunity visited on people who are merely seeking to live out their constitutional rights of freedom of expression. The young man's life taken, in this manner, simply because he's seeking to live out his, constitutionally guaranteed right of the freedom to express himself, regarding what we call his entitlements to citizenship, jobs, development, projects or opportunities, amenities in the community, education, roads, all these essential and legitimate rights, that people have to demand. And it's sad that we have come to this point.
Richard, it's sad that we have come to this point. For you, which point are we now? Where are we now?
We are nowhere. You made me laugh. I cried the whole night. I couldn't sleep. If you look at my last post on Facebook, that was around 12 midnight. I couldn't sleep. I think they not that they don't listen, but they are a bit confused.
They are?
Yeah, they are a bit confused. And what you saw yesterday at Ejura is needless, it's unfortunate, and it's disgraceful. So we are nowhere. We are back to square one. From the election shooting at Techima South, to many of the issues we have seen, the unconclusive nature of investigations in this country. So anytime you hear people saying they are going to investigate, then the public say it will not come to anything. You heard the father of one of the guys talking about it, and he enumerated Ahmed Swale and many of those things.
Right.
If you listen to the doctor very well, you can see clearly that the issues we'll be talking about in this country, nothing has been done about it. And it might be because people are confused and they don't really know what to do.
Well, so take a look quickly. Let me refresh your memory with a news desk report that we put together of unsolved murders. I mean, and this is in recent time. Take a listen to it quickly. Then we'll take you to Ejira, where my man Ibrahim Abubakar is standing by. He will give us live feed from there, and then we'll come back into the studio. Your thoughts and your WhatsApp messages are welcome at this point. The hashtag is TV3 Newday. But take a look at this.
The Akufo-Addo-led NPP administration has been criticized for not living up to its most fundamental responsibility of guaranteeing the safety and security of Ghanaians since it took over the reins of government in January 2017. The impunity with which some murders have been carried out points to an emboldening of criminals, which according to security analysts stems directly from the weak response from government. It began with the seizure of toll booths and some public facilities right after the NPP won political power in 2016. Members of the Delta Force, a political vigilante group affiliated to the NPP government, attacked the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator in Kumasi and assaulted him in 2017. The same group attacked a Kumasi Circuit Court, threatened the judge and freed 13 members of their vigilante group who were facing charges over the Regional Security Coordinator's assault. The Ayawaso West Walk on electoral violence in January 2019 is yet another incident. There has been many cases of unresolved murders as well. On January 16, 2019, investigative journalist Ahmed Hussein Swale was murdered and his killers are yet to be apprehended. The perpetrators of the late Professor Bene are yet to be brought to book. The same with the marketing and public affairs manager of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Josephine Asante, who was stabbed to death at her residence. A manager of Ghana Water Company Limited, Joseph Megai Jakperuk. The Assemblies of God head pastor, Reverend Dr. David Nagbemedo, and Infantsiman MP Echo Hayford. Some 6 persons also lost their lives in the 2020 general elections. The recent killing of a police officer by armed robbers at Adedempo and a woman in the neighborhood in a bullion van attack. And the latest, the mob attack and subsequent death of social activist and Fix the Country campaigner Mohammed Kaka, which has sparked clashes at Ejira between irate youth and the security agencies, resulting in more death and injuries.
Now that's our news desk compilation. I'm sure there's more that we could mention, but this was what we could immediately think of, Richard. So that's the situation. But then the folks handling security, from Defense Minister to Interior Minister to National Security Minister to the National Security Coordinator to IGP to CDS to even the President, everybody keeps telling us, you are safe, don't panic. This chronology says differently. What do you say?
No, definitely, security is not what somebody says. Security is something what people feel. And if you want, your safety is guaranteed by how secure you are. And so therefore, to assure or to guarantee safety, to ensure that people are safe, then they would need some level of security. And people can't go about their daily work when they keep on hearing some of these things. You understand? And security compliance is not what you sit in the office and do. We hear some of these guys brag about, I am a lawyer this, I am a lawyer that. You see some of them so confused. They have not even checked with their men on the field to speak to journalists, but they are now asking journalists whether the guy at Ejira is dead or not. What about if the journalists lied to them? And based on that lie, they went ahead and made a pronouncement at that highest level of management. I'm just saying that looking at what we have had, the sample size is showing that somebody doesn't know what is happening. And they are so confused with this security management you are seeing. And that is why we are having the problem. But you remember we sat here and I told you the structure they have adapted is not helping them.
Okay.
And once you have a complex structure that there's no command and control structures in there, you will have communication problem, you will have coordination problem, and people will not get to the right places at the right time, doing the right thing. So what you saw is more reactive than being responsive. And once they are responding, they will know, engage the size of the crowd and even the angle of the people and are they supposed to do. Johnny, you are a barracks boy. Even in war, the greatest asset of a soldier is mercy.
Right. We will come back to the specifics at Ejura, but let's look at, Mukhtar, let's look at the chronology of events that we played right now. The litany of unsolved murders, and the police will always say we're investigating. Our current IGP technically is on retirement. His former boss was also on retirement. They were both given contracts. The contract was renewed. Clearly, the president sees what we do not see. But is he living up to the expectation of the people?
Clearly not. I mean, if you notice in the last 3 months, you would see the chronology of events, apart from the events, the actions of the public. And people calling on the IGP to step down recently. In the last couple of weeks, we've had loud, voices calling for the resignation of the IGP. I think generally, if you look at the security architecture today, it appears our security architecture is congested. There's a congested security architecture that does not allow for what you're talking about, coordination, and free flow, interagency coordination, and information sharing. And also accountability, ensuring compliance when it comes to security in dealing with the people. Sometimes you're confused as to who is in charge here. Is it national security operatives? Is it officers from the Ministry of Interior? Is it from the IGP's office? Is it from, the Flagstaff House? All these things together. Does not help in terms of coordination.
Jammed together.
Yes. Ideally, it should strengthen our capacity to deal with security. If you see a government that puts together a kind of security architecture we have, it communicates the level of seriousness and commitment to security. Unfortunately, it is counterproductive for us. And so it does not help in this situation. And I can tell you, the conduct and activities of security operatives and leadership within the security sector, it's a huge negative. It actually creates a negative the negative image for the government more than probably any other sector in this country. And so it's important that we get hold of issues in this sector and ensure that things are sanitized, there's clear, command and control structures, and that there's compliance, and that the culture of the people we deploy is important. If you see the video, like you said in your editorial, at what point does a police officer or an army officer discharge his weapons in dealing with crowd? Security is always layered. You don't come in and use just one, layer, engage with the people. The layers, at your disposal. At what point do you discharge a weapon? At what point do you engage leadership of a crowd or protesters?
Right.
At what point do you use water cannons? At what point do you use, either warning shots or whatever?
Operations procedure.
We need to do that. Do we have, SOPs for dealing with crowd control in this country? Do we have, a policy regarding that? Standard operating procedures.
We'll come to that. Let's quickly connect with Ibrahim Abubakar, a man in the Ashanti region. Ibra, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Johnny.
Well, I see you're already up and running. What can you share with us from Ejura? What's the situation there?
Well, Johnny, this morning, as you can see at the background, the place looks very calm. So for now, we can say a bit of calm has been restored in the area. Yesterday, around this time, the shops that you see behind me, the traders, everybody has just packed because of the violent activity going on here. So this morning, earlier we went to the family house of the deceased. They are just preparing for the Islamic funeral for their relative. In fact, the two were buried yesterday around 4 p.m. And we've also seen a couple of police, military moving about town. They move. Majority of them are currently stationed at the police station. But at the Zongo section, you hardly see any of them here. They just patrol, then go back. But you speak to the youth and you sense that they are still boiling in anger, even though they've been talked to their leadership. In fact, yesterday, the youth leadership, the Muslim leadership, the traditional council all met with the police to find a lasting solution to this whole brouhaha. So they engaged with the youth after the meeting just to calm them down and to tell them that the police has assured them that they have commenced investigation to unravel the circumstances that led to the death of the other two yesterday. In fact, yesterday the police itself held a presser and told us that they are committed to making sure that they will investigate this matter.
Well, Ibra, yesterday the medical superintendent was very clear to you that what was used in killing the two was not rubber bullets, as the police had told us earlier, that they were actual bullets. How do we reconcile the two? What has the police been saying? Have they withdrawn their earlier rubber bullet story and replaced it with proper bullets?
Exactly. For the part of the police, they keep telling us that they were not using the live ammunitions, but that rather came from the military. But you rightly said, I spoke with the medical superintendent and he indeed confirmed to me that those were live bullets shot at them, and one was shot at the chest, one too was shot at the back, and also at the lung. So the damage was severe. In fact, yesterday, personally, he just couldn't believe it. He told me that what he saw, he believed that it was a close range or it was aimed at them and shot. So he was also very sad. In fact, as we speak to you this morning, one of the 4 victims who were being treated yesterday is in a very critical condition. So he has even been referred to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. Fortunately, one has been treated and discharged, and we still have 2 being treated at the Edra Government Hospital. So these were live bullets and not rubber bullets at all. And personally, we can confirm that yesterday we saw some of the youth holding machetes, they were holding sticks, they were holding stones, throwing it at the police. But we did not see any of them holding any firearm. In fact, we even asked the police whether they were able to retrieve any firearms from the youth, and they told us they've not retrieved any firearms from the youth. But they also heard that they were holding firearms, so they've also commenced investigation into that matter.
Ibra, so yesterday you also showed us a video of the youth chasing away the water cannon of the formed police unit, the blue water cannon that was brought. What inspired that action from the youth?
So, Johnny, it has to do with trust issue from day one when Ibrahim Mohammed alias Kaka was butchered. They think that the police has not been fair to them because the incident happened around 2 a.m. Saturday. They went to the police to report to them. The police couldn't come to the crime scene until around 3 p.m. Even with that time, it was the time the youth themselves decided to mobilize themselves, take the laws into their own hands, and attack people they suspect were behind that heinous crime. That was the time the police moved to the crime scene. So even from the start, they thought that the police has not been fair to them. And if not for the fact that Ibrahim Mohammed has passed on, they wouldn't have put in effort to arrest some people. That's what the youth are thinking. So just after the barrier, they were chasing away the police. They told them to leave the scene. That's when they started pelting stones at them. But the police decided to use the water on them. It was when the military came in that we started seeing the firing of gunshot and subsequent wounding of 6 people that even led to the death of 2.
So the police say they will investigate the cause of the death, and the families are getting ready to bury their dead. How are they reconciling the two scenarios? Would they
So,
exhume the bodies after they are buried?
so that's the funny aspect. Yesterday, after the presser, we decided to ask more questions, but the police told us they have to also move to other places because the bodies were buried yesterday around 4 p.m. And when they were sent to the hospital and they were finally pronounced dead, we did not see the police there, and the family stood there to take the bodies home. Just there, they went straight to the cemetery to bury them. So it was a bit of confusing, telling us that after you conduct autopsy and be able to even ascertain whether the bullets that hit the deceased were from the police or from the military or even from the youth themselves once they were buried. So I will tell you that for now, they were a bit economical with the information, and like you rightly said, they've been buried. And the medical superintendent himself confirmed that these were live ammunitions from the security point. So we do not know how the autopsy will be conducted again, because the three people we are talking about, both Ibrahim Mohammed and the two deceased were buried yesterday. So we don't know how they will conduct the investigation for now.
Ibra, yesterday you were also there, spent a better part of your day and the evening there. Did you spot an ambulance, at least to convey any of the victims to the hospital?
In fact, I saw one ambulance there, but that was later in the evening. At that time, the victims had already been sent to the Edra government hospital. The only time I saw the ambulance was later in the evening when one of the injured was being transferred to the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital.
I see. And the hospital itself, where the victims were taken to, paint a picture of what the situation is there for us.
Well, this morning, a few people are there as compared to yesterday. This morning, you don't see the numbers there. It is just some few relatives who are there to monitor the health situation of their relatives there. Like I said, we now have only 2 people there. There were 4 yesterday in number. One was discharged, one has been sent to Komfanochi. So 2 are there currently receiving treatment. And the doctors are even hoping that possibly by the close of today or maybe Friday, they will be able to treat and discharge the remaining 2.
Ibra, yesterday, one of the royals at the place, the Ejura area, had said categorically that they had brought in the military. Are you able to shed some light on that for us?
Well, the military was brought in 2 days ago. That was on Monday evening when Kaka passed on, when it was announced that Ibrahim Mohammed has passed on. People started burning car ties just to register their displeasure. And the police feared because they also sensed danger, and they said they picked intelligence that the youth will be attacking people they suspect were behind that crime, and they even mobilized themselves to march to the police station. That's when the military were brought in to assist the police. So yesterday they were around, and it was only the police who escorted the youth to the burial grounds. It was after the youth started pelting stones, hooting at the police, that the military were called in again. And that's when the firing also started. So the military has been here since Monday evening.
In all of this, where is the MCE, who is the boss of the Municipal Security Council, and the Member of Parliament? In all of this, where are they, the 2 leaders?
Well, the Member of Parliament is currently in Accra. Yesterday, I think he addressed the media and even spoke on the floor of Parliament. So he is in Accra at the moment. The municipal chief executive, for now, I cannot tell you where he is. But what I can confirm to you is that he is not anywhere close to Edra. His life is also in danger together with his family. So they've moved out of Edra. Yesterday, we were told that they are in Kumasi. I tried to chase them out. I wasn't successful. But what the police are telling us is that he has been taken to a secured place, because all along we have a section of the youth who even yesterday wanted to storm his residence, because for them they also suspect that he is behind the crime, because the two people who are currently in police custody are people known to be his bodyguard. So they suspect that if those people are linked to the murder, then he can also be taken out. So people wanted to even attack his residence yesterday, but there was security presence there. So as I speak to you now, the MCE is not in Edra.
I'm a bit befuddled. The MCE is the boss of the Security Council. He calls the shots. So you can say that the actions of the police and everything bounces back to him. And he is not there in all of this?
Exactly. That's the case as it stands, because his life is also in danger. So they have to secure a place for him and his family. So
Ibrahim, the commander-in-chief, if you will, of Ejura is not there. He thinks that his life is in danger, but that of his people are not in danger. Is that the understanding I get? The representative of the president?
Exactly. So, like I said, the MCE is currently not in Edra, but the police is here. So now the police commander is taking charge of things here, and also the military command is also here. They are taking charge of things.
Ibra, quickly. So the MCE, according to the people, is also a suspect per the murder of the folks who died, especially Kaka. Do you know if the police have invited the MCE for questioning to take his statement? Do you know?
For now, we do not know that. I'm not sure, but I cannot confirm to you whether he has been invited or not. But like you rightly asked, we will also be asking the police these questions when the commander comes in, because since people also suspect him, like you are saying, he should also come and assist in investigation for now. But this morning, the information we are also picking is that the two persons who have been arrested in connection with the murder of Kaka will be arraigned before court this morning.
Thank you, Ibrahim Abubakar. You stay safe out there. MCE doesn't feel safe. You obviously must also take your security into your own hands. Thank you. Ibrahim Abubakar, there is a man in the Ashanti region. He's been in Ejura since yesterday with us, hardworking chap there. Richard, so this is the situation. Let's start from the MCE's point. First, the people say he's a suspect. The police, according to Ibrahim, are yet to invite him for any questioning at all. Then he leaves the place. He says he doesn't feel safe. I'm confused. Maybe you can assist me.
I told you why everybody is confused, including the managers of the security. You remember I sat here and I told you that strategy that a politician should be the head of security within the jurisdiction is an archaic strategy. Because mostly behind many of the chaos we have seen within their jurisdictions. And there's no way they should be the head of the security. Now his voice has been picked. And we just heard that they have been arraigned before court.
Right.
You could see how quickly they have been arraigned before court, which means that there has been some evidence that can be adduced in court or admissible in court. And that is why they have been arraigned before court. And the main man himself, who should be leading the people, has vanished. He comes back to the place and he wants to be the boss. Then the question is, once he's not there, who invites the police? The police, who invite the military? The military takes instruction from who? Within security operations, instructions are key. time is also key. Mohammed Kaka was dead on Saturday, between Saturday to Monday. Then again, because when it comes to even investigation to see what the cause or the manner of death is, autopsy is just one little element within that process. Okay. And the police should be interested in taking certain pictures at the scene, follow to the hospital. And that's why I was happy when I heard the doctor spoke. And you are embarrassed boy again. You could see when the doctor spoke, we know where the bullets came from.
Right.
We know where the bullets came from. Because in the security intelligence, or if you want to investigate a crime within that side, it doesn't matter how many people are screaming, who shot the gun, who didn't shoot the gun. By what the doctor said, it's an indication where the guns came
That's
from.
right. Even
And the
MCE,
MCE, who should be there to be reporting back to the seat of government, has vanished from the place. So you see the whole security structure we have, it's not working. And guess what? There are BNI officers in Edra. I know Edra so well. Many years ago, there had been this fertilizer fraud issue.
That's right.
And I travel across that whole place. And Edra should be giving us more food than we killing the people who should go to farm and produce those food. You understand? There are BNI officers within the place. What has been the coordination between the police and these people?
Are you suggesting that we should stop putting political figureheads? Because if you're a DC, whether you have any knowledge about security or not, you automatically become the boss of the security, whatever it is, and you represent the president.
It's an archaic strategy. We should stop it. Placing DCEs as the head of DISEC and RECSEC and all that. What do you know about all that? It should be the police. The police are the custodians of maintaining law and order. And these are civil cases. You don't bring military. Military men are trained to kill and to be killed. And now they had the advantage of killing the people who has paid them to be citizens.
They say stones were being pelted at them.
With stones. I think we should be sending our military men to Syria, to Afghanistan, to Pakistan, and fight those battles. But these ones are innocent civilians who are demonstrating, showing an anger. How will you be telling a mother to calm down whose son has been shot dead, and you are not doing anything to appease them? I think we are jamming the process a little bit. And you see, in all development structures, national unity and cohesion is so key. And we should stop creating this whole atmosphere of insecurity and agitations, and people are angry and we don't know what they are planning behind closed doors. It's not so proper.
Mokhtar, the MP is in Accra. The MCE is nowhere to be found. But there's a security situation. We still see police and military vehicles, around the area. Probably that's what has brought the calm. I'm sure the intelligence officers are also on the ground digging and looking for it. But the security architecture in Nigeria at this point, if you will, is headless because the head is nowhere to be found. The police commander is acting. What do you say?
Well, as you can see clearly, there's a breakdown in terms of coordination relating to responsibility. The DC, obviously, it's not in a good position to act as a responsible leader of the people. He has abdicated his seat and found somewhere for his own safety and the safety of his family. Of course, the MP is here. He's got legitimate reasons to be here, as it is the custom of politicians in this country. All of them assemble here in the name of representing the people. Many of them very, very poor connection or relationship with the people on the ground. And so, yes, there's a huge vacuum in place. There's no leadership. Thankfully, we have the local community and traditional leaders in there who have been able to hold the fort and get the people together to forestall calm. These are things that appear to be little things or not, tangential to the main issues, but they're so important. Like my brother talked about national cohesion. There are little things that are so important for us to do. When we do that, we're shaping the culture of security and the culture of togetherness, and that is so important for us as a nation. I think generally when you look at the security situation and the culture of insecurity that we have boxed ourselves into now, we seem to be applying bandage solutions to problems that require surgical surgery.
Okay.
If you look at what is happening, we are talking about investigations. The police have come out with a statement talking about investigations into the matter.
Right.
There is very little public confidence that this will amount to anything.
Why is that so?
Look, what is happening now, when you talk about investigations, there's always going to be a popular reference to the Emil Short Commission report.
Right.
And it indicates the purposelessness and the futility of having commissions or having investigations into matters involving wrongdoing by security agencies. And it's so important for us because the very, very commission that was set up by the government with the highest, composition of the best expertise in this country came out with recommendations. We discredited it, government discredited, dismissed it, and everybody went to sleep. How can we engender trust and confidence when public officials come out with statements regarding, investigations or setting up a committee to investigate a matter? These are very important things. It was a huge opportunity for us to ensure structural changes to the security of this country,
right,
both in terms of form and in terms of operations.
But that's why you have a national security strategy. It's a new one, brand new one.
The strategy, if you focus on it, you will be sidestepping the issues that we're dealing with in this country. We all know the very, very inherently...
But the guy gave you a strategy. You said the strategy was huge. Let me just bring it to speed. You see, he created a strategy, a structure, where you used to have a national security secretariat. You place a ministry on the secretariat to have an oversight responsibility of all the institutions that make it to the National Security Council. In order to make them workable, he gave them SOP. So the strategy you saw was an SOP to the Ministry of National Security. That gives them the leverage to be able to have that responsibility. The BNI, the independence of the BNI is still there. The independence of the police is still there. The independence of the military intelligence and the defense is still there. The independence of immigration and all that are there. But because he lifted the Ministry of Security up above the Security Secretariat, he needed to give them a document that gave them a blueprint. So that document in itself, it's nothing.
Well, but
it's
so
Mukhtar,
I think if I get Mukhtar, I get your point. But if I get Mukhtar also, he's asking questions about, okay, we can have a strategy. But to the extent that, for example, the president still appoints the IGP, and the IGP reports to the interior minister. Is that the structure you're talking about?
To make the point
so
about
you can't claim independence where there's a monkey hand in the dark shaking hands with people.
Because we all know the inherently political nature of security in this country. And it comes from the Constitution. And that's why I make reference to the Michel Commission report that recommended structural changes and structural recommendations. But it didn't feature much in terms of the Constitution itself. But we know the inherently political nature of it. The council itself is a political composition, headed by the vice president, who is a politician, together with the minister of interior, who is a politician, the IGP, who is a politician. The politicians appoint, the president appoints 2 additional people of his choosing, and the entire team, the entire council, is managing the security. The Ministry of Interior, because the Ministry of Interior and the Ghana Police Service is at the direction and control of the council. When it comes to the Ministry of Defense, and I often make that distinction, some of the reasons why we do not find the politically characterized activities relating to the armed forces, not to say that they are not, it is because the Constitution is clear when it comes to the Armed Forces Council. The Armed Forces is at the direction and control of the council, only in terms of policy, not operational activities. And of course, the interface between the army and the citizenry is far less compared to the police and the citizenry.
Can you, that's what's on paper. But now we see soldiers carrying files of lawyers. We see soldiers driving MPs and ministers. We see soldiers allegedly pounding fufu in homes of people. We see soldiers in the shopping malls pushing carts behind people who they are not supposed to. We see soldiers pausing to salute civilians. And you're asking yourself, what is going on? For example, the president in military circles is a general. Now, the president's aide-de-camp is supposed to be the rank of a colonel. The president's present aide-de-camp is a brigadier general. How does a general follow a general? The first lady's bodyguard is supposed to be a captain. She is a major. How does that happen? So the question is that we have what is on paper and what has been a structure and plan. But are we doing the same now? That's the question they're asking. Maybe they won't say it publicly, but they're asking the questions.
But you know what happened? You can talk about the National Security Council, and you can't talk about the internal operations of the BNI, because that is something nobody tells you. And so that council they set up, and the security structure we have run with ever since MPP came into power, that is what is creating the problem. Remember, they used to have 2 ministers for national security.
Right.
Then you move him there and place him in the Ministry of Interior. So for the first time in a very long time, you have 2 ministers of what? Interior. And who takes instruction from who becomes a problem. And remember, the IGP is the technical advisor to Minister of Interior. Which of them is he reporting to? That is why sometimes you see some of the Minister of Interior confused. And they have no files because nobody briefs them, or they haven't gotten the files before they go to the media and speak. So that is where the issue is, because somebody calls in the military when they have no clue. Remember the Parliament House one. We don't know who called the military in, and the minister seems not to know up to today because of the structure we are having. And remember, security is a management too. This is not the first time we are managing security in this country. So let's go back to the blueprint. Let's sit back and see where are we getting it wrong, and let's improve upon it. Otherwise, it is the structure problem, and it is the structure that is creating the problem. And once you have a structure problem, output out there will be low, and that is why the inefficiency is hitting them in the face.
So you talk about structure management and all of that. I'll ask you maybe 2 final questions, and then we'll go. The president gets daily briefings. Is it your opinion that the president is listening to the streets? Because Kaka has died because we don't have the full scale. He's a social media activist, and if you go onto his page, he's talking about the ills in society. At his death and at the death of the 2 others yesterday, we saw what pertained in the hospital. We didn't see the ambulance. We saw their roads, the very things he was talking about. Is it your opinion that the president and those close to power are listening, or perhaps they are just hearing?
Definitely, we are not there, so we wouldn't know what is happening. But my checks from national security sources and from high political circles seems that something is not right somewhere, and a little bit more communication would need to be channeled to the right places. You see, communication manages everything, and security secures all your gains. And to the extent that we are having in the public space a lot of insecurity issues, it means that somebody is not telling somebody the right thing, or the information is being massaged. And once the information is being massaged, and you also know the type of the Rawlinses that get to town on their own, just like it happens in some other parts of the world, you don't get to see the real issues until they comes out. Then in the daily briefings, you want to ask questions. And once you ask questions and they say everything is all right, it goes there. Remember, let me take you back again. You remember President Kufuor's time. We have a minister for national security who doubles as a security coordinator. Right. Before he left power, he was put under house arrest.
Right.
Have you asked yourself, why did the president put him under house arrest? There are issues in there, and security management and within the security intelligence composition and communities. If you put your ears down, you will hear some of the things going on. And I from my village at Goy, I don't have the power to advise the president. And I know when I speak, they pick the script and they analyze it and they assess it. I'm doing it as a service to Ghana because this is what we have chosen. Okay. And Ghana is our political party. But if they will listen and listen properly, then they will need to send the boys back to where they belong and let them listen to the boys and not those who seems to be speaking to them for whatever reasons and benefits.
Mukhtar, at what point do we bring the military in? Because it does appear that at the slightest provocation they are in. They are in parliament, they are here, they are there. At what point do we bring them in?
I think we have, for some time now, we have significantly abused what is traditionally conceived to be the role of the military and civilian roles. It's important to make the point that military men are not only performing exclusively military roles. There are functions, civilian roles, that military can get in based on the situations and conditions. There are instances where the police can bring in the military for reinforcement, depending on the nature and character of threats and the intensity of the threat and the capabilities available to the police at the time. But in the last few years, probably in the last 5-6 years, we've seen a significant change in terms of the pervasive feature of military in civilian roles. And that is dangerous in many ways because it sort of undermines the level of, confidence and reverence that we hold the military. The military, like my brother mentioned, some time past, if you were to see military in any community for any operations, the kind of anxiety and the kind of compliance that would elicit from the local population is absent today. We're losing fear of the military, and that is dangerous for us. There's a day, like you mentioned, there's a day when we need the military to act, and the military would not be available. Not that they would not be available, they would not get the sort of cooperation, the compliance, and the reverence that is expected from the local population. And it's important for us to distinguish clearly what legitimate roles can the military perform in civilian functions.
Right.
What legitimate roles can we bring in the military as reinforcement? There's a total and clear, total abandon of that kind of, analysis and understanding of what should be the case. Like we saw yesterday.
Okay.
The military came in not as reinforcement or to support the police officers. We saw the military leading in action. They were not coming to support the police officers. The police officers, for several minutes or seconds, were in their cars. The military were out engaging with the public and shooting. This is not the traditional way of reinforcement. The culture of reinforcement is completely different from what we're seeing. And that is very, very dangerous. An important point I want to make is
quickly.
Security events are less important than our reactions to them, our responses to them. What happens sometimes is not what is most important. It's how we respond to it, how we manage it. Have we seen leadership speak and speak in a manner that engenders, unity, cooperation, understanding, and public goodwill for the effort leading, engage in bringing about sanity and peace in this? That is key. And that is what will always guide the quality of leadership.
I see.
In security.
Thank you very much. So today is the 30th of June. Tomorrow will be the 1st of July. The IGP, Mr. James Opon-Bueno, he said by the 30th of June, if the banks don't have armored bullion vans, he will withdraw his men from bullion van duties because it is only in heaven that there's no crime, but there's crime everywhere. Richard, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Is it your hope that the IGP will be a man of his words?
No,
if he is not, what should he do?
You see, I've worked in a bank before. There's a problem there. What happened with the bullion van? Those guys are people who provide third-party services within the financial sector.
Right.
And that point needs to be made clear. And so the IGP is saying that if those guys do not meet the criteria for assigning those duties to them, then he will withdraw his men.
Right.
But the funny thing is that has he been in heaven before? Has he not read the Bible and realized that Satan committed some issues in heaven and he was dropped down? And if he's talking about heaven, then let's stop paying him and take his money and start giving to God, because he's paid to perform a function. And he should be seen as somebody who is living to expectations. Otherwise, then those calling for his head have every right to.
Mokhtar?
Well, I do not trust. I don't believe that he's going to get compliance from banks. We've seen statements like that and ultimatums and promises of leadership. In recent times, it's a worry, and all of us need to be worried about how much we take our leaders seriously. The Minister for Interior a couple of weeks ago talked about opening all cold cases, murder cases, and ensuring that there's closure to those issues. Immediately, I thought this was ridiculous. There's nothing in preparation that shows that we are going to have that done. Up to now, after the incident, the announcement, nothing has happened. This promise, this call by the IGP, I do not see that happening, because it involves stakeholders and it involves parties. Like my brother mentioned, third parties are involved, the banks are involved, central bank is involved, and it brings understanding to who is responsible for ensuring that proper bullion vans and armored proper bullion vans are provided for security of officials.
Okay, so if it doesn't happen, what should the IGP be doing?
Oh, well, he has to be responsible.
And do what?
He could step down. He should. If he really wants, he really means, as a responsible leader. Okay. Yesterday, actually the day before, the Minister for Health in the UK resigned because he had broken the COVID protocols. This is not isolation. Several instances
Do you see
like
black
that.
people
A minister comes to parliament.
Black
who
people
was
don't
meant to
resign.
read a
The
statement.
Chief Justice was
He
at
was late in parliament,
the
and
man's
he resigned.
funeral, Sir John's funeral with the president. You saw the pictures.
Okay.
The Chief Justice, the man at the highest level of the apex of the justices we have in this country. He was at that funeral.
Lawmakers are the lawbreakers.
Exactly. He was there.
well.
Do you see black people resigning?
Of course.
Probably we need to be
our
forcing them
leaders-
to resign.
Anyway, yesterday I saw the Operation COVID safety vehicle there. Anyway, good morning to you, Lieutenant Colonel Issa, and to all my great friends in the military and the police service. They're sending me lots of messages out here. Somebody sent, a senior police officer sent one I'd like to read quickly. It says, tell Johnny that it's only the president who constitutionally is supposed to have an ADC, that's an aide camp. No other person is allowed to. The First Lady is not supposed to have an ADC, not even to talk about having a military ADC. And I say the First Lady's bodyguard or ADC is a major. I have not seen that before. And I see the president having a brigadier general. I have also not seen that before. And another sent in this one. I won't say the name, but it says the strategy is not an SOP. The strategy is a strategic document for ensuring security in the country. The document provides strategic direction for all sectors to come out with their own strategy. So example, policing strategy, national intelligence strategy, energy strategy, border strategy, defense strategy, etc. The strategy is meant for managing security in Ghana, both traditional and human security. So that's a bit of understanding for us, shining some light on there for us. But I thank you very, very much indeed for your time. Okay, Adam Bonar says this one. Says, Johnny, the National Security Minister justified the use of force in removing the former security coordinator in the Ashanti region. He said that in Parliament, indeed, and he said they will repeat that if need be. So I'm not surprised to see live bullets used on armed civilians. Well, that's Adam Bonar of Security Warehouse. Thank you very much. Richard Kumado, he's a fraud and security consultant. He's joined us here. And also Mukhtar Mumuni. I forget the last one. Mukhtar Mumuni Mukhtar. Okay. He is also the Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming. Let's do